Hey guys, it's Greg with Buy the Bootstraps, b2bootstraps.com. Check out the store, check out the social media. Making a video today because about a week ago there was a 5-year-old boy in North Carolina. His name was Cannon Hennett, I believe it was, who was shot by a next door neighbor at point blank range in the head as he was playing in his front lawn with his two older sisters. Now he was 5 years old. His older sisters were 7 and 8. Okay, they were in their yard playing. Their next door neighbor, for whatever reason, came outside, put a gun to the back of this kid's head, and shot him in the back of the head. And the kid ended up dying. You know, I don't know if he died at the scene or if he died at the hospital. I've seen it two different ways. I saw it initially that he died at the scene, and then I think there was a follow-up story that said no, they got him to the hospital, but he still ended up tragically dying. I saw the video of the story of the kid's father and the emotions that he had about how he had heard the noise. He was inside his house. He heard the noise. He ran outside, saw his kid on the ground. Thought at first that his son had fallen off his bike, but as he came up to his kid, noticed that something was terribly wrong. Picked him up, and he was just breaking up. And as a father myself of 2 children, I can only imagine what something like that would happen. Now, here's though where the story really makes me wonder what the hell is going on. The next door neighbor was a black guy. He was 25 years old, and for whatever reason he decided to murder this young boy. Now, I wasn't going to make a video about Cannon at first. I mean, even though it made me specifically upset as a father and as someone who cares about children and people in general, but when I heard that story, you know, I didn't want to say anything, or I wasn't going to say anything actually. I mean, I thought about it, but I was like, nah. I knew there was going to be a lot of reaction videos. I knew there was going to be a lot of people coming out and making videos about this. But then I saw a story today. This story comes from mrctv.org, okay? The title is said, he should have ducked. New Jersey juvenile detention officer suspended for racist rant about Cannon Hennett. And it says an officer at the New Jersey Detention Center has been suspended after he reportedly made racially insensitive comments about the shooting death of the 5-year-old Cannon Hennett, a white boy who was gunned down in broad daylight by a black man over a week ago. According to this, Officer Rome Smith, who worked at a juvenile detention center in Cumberland County, wrote on social media that Hennett should have ducked when the 25-year-old Darius shot him in the head at point-blank range while he was riding his bike outside his father's house. Now, this is what this juvenile detention center social worker wrote on his social media. Y'all always trying to sneak diss and discredit a black person being killed innocently by police. Blame Cannon's parents for not watching him. F y'all, Smith reportedly wrote on Facebook according to screenshots of his rant. Okay, several things here. What incendiary monster praises the death of a child, of any child? Doesn't matter if it's black, doesn't matter if they're white, doesn't matter if they're any race of any kind. Who the fuck actually promotes that and praises it? And again, I've asked this question, statistically speaking, how many people are being shot by the cops? All right? You can get the numbers yourself if you're willing to look. You can get it from the DOJ if you're willing to look. I've said this before in a prior video, but in my state of Minnesota, in 2019, there were 13 police shootings, or 13 incidents with police that ended in death. Out of the 13, 3 of them were African American, which I hate that term. None of you fuckers are from Africa, so stop saying it. You're black Americans. And if you're refugees, guess what? That doesn't make you an American either. You're still African. You just so happen to be here in America at that point. But no one who was born in America is an African American. You're a black American, just like you're an Asian American, I guess you could say. Well, actually, what would you call them? Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, you don't say you're a Chinese American. You don't say you're a Japanese American. You know, you're an American. You know, my family lineage goes to Ireland. I don't say I'm an Ireland American. You know, the only thing I could possibly say is that I'm a Native American, because that is part of my DNA, I guess. But I don't even identify as that. I'm an American. Same as everyone else. Okay. But if you're talking about police action, at least in my state of Minnesota, you know, if this police officers who are killing black people is so rampant, why are the numbers three black people were killed by police officers in 2019? The rest were Caucasian. Now, granted, I know you could say, well, that, you know, it could be a disproportionate number based on how many people live in Minnesota versus, you know, how many black people live in Minnesota versus white people. Okay, yeah, you can make that argument, but you know what? I don't care about your statistics when it comes to that. Numbers say 13 deaths, 10 were white, 3 were black. So if this pandemic is happening at such an alarming rate, why would it not be the other way around? It's just not happening. So this guy makes this comment. I mean, that's my first thing. It's not happening, all right? But then I've seen multiple comments on Facebook, multiple comments on Twitter. You know, first of all, the news media has not hardly covered this story at all. Not the one about this guy who just got suspended. Oh, and that's all he got was suspended. Had that been a white guy saying something like that about a black guy, that dude would be fired. Easily. But no, he's suspended. I guess it pays to be a government worker. He, you know, he makes this comment as though like this is happening and that people are defending it. I don't know of anyone who's going out there and saying that George Floyd should have died. I haven't heard one person say that. I haven't heard anyone say that, you know, that all these black people who get killed, mostly by their own actions, by the way, deserve to die. Most of these people who are killed, by the way, they're done by their own actions, as body cam footage has shown. And quite frankly, even George Floyd's case. Now, granted, I do not agree with what happened. I do not agree with the fact that the officer put his knee in his back or on his neck for 8.5 minutes. I think that was totally wrong. Once George Floyd was subdued and handcuffed, he should have gotten off of him. But if you watch the body cam footage of the interaction leading up to that, he was acting very erratically. He had told them he wanted to go to the ground. After getting out of a car, they put him in the police car. He claims he's claustrophobic. Well, you were just in a closed space. Now you're just in a different one. Their situation has changed. You're in handcuffs now. But the cops even put him on the ground. Again, I'm not justifying putting your knee on his neck for 8.5 minutes. And I do think those officers should be investigated. But I've seen so many people on Facebook making comments like, "Oh, you know, it doesn't matter. It's just some kid. You know, it's payback." You're saying that you want to trade a life for another life? You know, especially when it's an innocent kid versus a career criminal, especially a criminal who, granted, he might have been trying to change his life around, but apparently not too much, especially after finding drugs in his system. And I'm not saying that's the reason he should have died, but that might be a reason why he was acting erratically. That might be the reason why the cops felt the need to hold him down. You know, I don't know. I wasn't there. But then for all these people automatically come out and say, "Oh, this is a racist event." You don't know what's in the hearts of those officers. You don't know what they were thinking. You don't know how they feel about race. Nothing. You're making an assumption so that you can push an agenda that you want to. All that being said, I don't think George Floyd should be dead right now. But that doesn't justify or make it justifiable to somehow in your warped, twisted mind to say that killing an innocent child, that's totally cool. And, you know, it's payback. If this was turned around and this was a white man who shot a black child at point blank range, this entire nation would be tearing itself apart more so than what happened with George Floyd. And yet, in the news media, that story barely got covered. I heard more about it from social media and YouTube, from people making reaction videos, than what I ever saw in the coverage of the news itself. And I read the news pretty regularly. I saw that on Fox News, I saw that on Breitbart News, I saw it on the Daily Wire and places like that. Where I didn't see it was CNN. I didn't see it on MSNBC. I didn't see it on USA Today. I didn't see it on Yahoo. Now, I'm not saying they didn't run it. I'm just saying it wasn't on it. It certainly wasn't like George Floyd, where they printed nothing but that for weeks. And, you know, let me ask you this. Where's the outrage for this kid? You know, do you see a bunch of white people walking into the hood of Chicago or Baltimore or Philadelphia and burning down houses, tearing down statues, killing other people, assaulting other people? No. Why? Because we actually got shit to do. You know, go to work. for starts. But you don't see us going in there causing havoc. You know, you don't see us doing the same things that happened after George Floyd died. And will this poor child, will he be granted the same respect that George Floyd got? Are you gonna have all of our politicians come out there with their fakes, you know, with their fake somber attitudes, like they gave a damn about that guy? I mean, if you're a black person and you saw all that and you thought that was legit, you should be offended by that. All those guys, you know, all these politicians and celebrities and, you know, all these people showing up, giving the man a folded American flag as though he was a downed soldier, you know, died in a combat field. The man was a criminal, period. And by all accounts, a drug user, which, again, not a reason to be dead, but it certainly didn't help his cause. But they gave this guy, wasn't he buried in a golden casket, for Christ's sakes? And for what? Because he got killed because of interacting with the police, because he refused to obey and follow command and orders. Now, again, not saying he deserved to die. I have to keep saying it because some moron's going to be like, oh, you think he deserved to die. No, I don't. But this kid was killed in broad daylight in front of his house, in his yard, by a black guy. And will any of these same people stand up for Camden? Not a damn one of you. You're a bunch of hypocrites and cowards. Not the people who watch this and agree with me. I'm talking about all the idiots who watch this and go, oh, you're just saying that because you're racist. Fucker, you don't know me. You don't know what's in my heart. You don't know how I think. You don't know what I think. You don't know anything about me besides what you may have seen on YouTube or maybe what you've seen on our Facebook page. But there's people of other races and other ethnic groups that I would die for because I know them, I worked with them, they're my brothers and sisters in arms because I served with them and I would die for them. You know what? They do the same damn thing for me. I'll talk to you later.